At 35,000 feet over the Yukon, commercial Flight 408 lost 47 seconds of radar telemetry. Cal here. 35,000 feet up, 47 seconds off radar. Same official story, same holes in it. The radar screens went completely dark at air traffic control in Anchorage. Inside the pressurized flight deck, the temperature dropped 20 degrees in 3 seconds. And standing directly beside the center avionics console was an uninvited passenger. Captain Jack Miller had logged over 14,000 hours in commercial Boeing cockpits. It was a standard midnight cargo run from Seattle, Tacoma, straight up to Anchorage International. Clear weather, light tailwinds, and 4,000 gallons of jet fuel in the wing tanks. First Officer Tom Reynolds was handling the second radio check over Vancouver airspace. Every system on the primary flight display was running inside optimal operational green margins. At 2:34 a.m., the autopilot was engaged at cruise altitude level 350. There were no storms on the horizon and no military traffic reported on the sector grid. Jack poured a black coffee from his thermos as they crossed the border into Canadian airspace. A routine flight, the kind a crew completes 500 times without remembering a single detail. If you value these uncovered aviation archives, make sure to subscribe to the channel right now, until the digital clock on the central instrument cluster flickered once and skipped 3 seconds. First came a faint, high-frequency whine through both pilots' noise-canceling headsets. Not static, but a steady, rhythmic pulsing that bypassed the audio-radio receivers entirely. Jack checked the VHF emergency channel, but the frequency selector was completely frozen. Then the cabin air temperature plunged from 72 degrees down to freezing in seconds. Condensation instantly turned to tiny ice crystals, hovering suspended inside the flight deck air. The cabin pressure differential gauge dropped towards zero, yet no warning horn sounded. The safety systems hadn't failed. They simply weren't registering the physical, environmental change. Jack reached for his oxygen mask, but his arm moved like it was trapped in thick syrup. Air resistance inside the cabin felt dense, heavy, and smelled faintly of ozone and burnt copper. The jet engines were still roaring outside, but inside the cockpit, sound was muffled to a hum. Every electronic screen on the captain's panel flickered simultaneously to a pale static wash. Hit that like button if you want more deep investigations into off-record pilot incidents. Jack forced his eyes to move toward the center throttle quadrant console. A figure was standing between the two pilot seats, motionless against the instrument glow. It stood barely 4 feet tall, with an oversized, smooth head and no visible hair or ears. Its skin had the texture of matte gray, wet slate, completely absorbing the ambient cabin lights. 2 massive black almond-shaped eyes reflected the glowing flight parameters of the navigation deck. It had no mouth slit, no pronounced nose ridge, and long, thin arms reaching past its knees. The entity was not standing on the floor mat. Its feet hovered an inch above the deck plate. Jack tried to yell out to Reynolds, but his vocal cords refused to vibrate. The presence inside the small room produced an overwhelming sensation of static electricity. It didn't turn its head. Its gaze shifted across the flight instruments without physical motion. The flight yoke held steady under autopilot, but the artificial horizon instrument began spinning slowly. No alarms rang. No warnings flashed. The aircraft's computer was effectively rendered blind. Jack could hear his own heartbeat echoing loudly inside his skull, counting 80 beats per minute. The entity turned its upper torso 3 degrees to face the captain's side seat directly. In high-pressure moments where systems fail, trying to navigate complex changes without a clear guide leaves anyone feeling paralyzed. That same frustration happens when people try to make extra income online, wasting endless hours testing tools without any real result. Instead of drowning in technical details, you just need a direct path to turn simple digital services into actual money this month. That is why the digital book Renda Extra Com IA EM 2026 was created, focusing entirely on practical execution rather than theory. It gives you a clear blueprint to generate real income without needing to become a tech specialist or spend money up front. If you want to stop wasting time and start seeing results, point your phone camera at the QR code on screen to check out the book. A sharp pressure built behind Jack's forehead, like a sudden dive without cabin pressurization. He couldn't close his eyelids. His motor nervous system was completely bypassed by an external field. Beside him, First Officer Reynolds sat frozen solid, eyes locked straight ahead at the windshield. Reynolds' right hand was stuck mid-air, inches away from pulling the emergency transponder lever. Yet the jet remained perfectly level, maintaining Mach 0.82 velocity through space. Jack realized the entity wasn't controlling the plane with physical hands or standard switches. A flood of geometric patterns and numerical strings began flashing across Jack's visual cortex. Latitude coordinates, altitude vectors, and star charts translated into pure mental concepts. It wasn't a conversation. It was a high-speed data dump directly into his conscious memory. Jack felt no hostility, only a cold, mechanical assessment of the jet's engine systems. His muscles burned from isometric tension, locked rigidly inside his leather pilot harness. If you have ever experienced unexplained lost time while traveling, comment "time" down below. The clock on the central panel had stopped entirely, its digital seconds counter-frozen on 42. The primary flight screens transformed from green avionics maps to complex three-dimensional star charts. Constellations unknown to modern terrestrial navigation rendered across the main navigation displays. The gray entity extended one long finger toward the glass surface of the flight management system. Without physical contact, the flight computer began rerouting the airliner's autopilot waypoints. Jack watched the magnetic compass spin 90 degrees west, while the aircraft held straight course. In his mind, Jack heard a low, resonant pulse that translated into specific operational parameters. The entity was scanning the aircraft's fuel consumption rates and magnetic propulsion emissions. It analyzed human flight technology the way an engineer inspects a primitive steam locomotive. Images of vast subterranean hangars filled with metallic discs flashed through Jack's thoughts. He saw flight paths originating from deep beneath the Pacific Ocean trench systems. The sheer volume of visual information caused a sharp nosebleed to trickle down Jack's lip. The entity did not react to his physical distress, maintaining its intense focus on the console. First Officer Reynolds began hyperventilating, his chest heaving shallowly against his seat harness. Tears ran down Reynolds' rigid cheeks, but his facial muscles remained locked in terror. His eyes darted frantically left to right, tracking the gray entity's slight arm movements. Reynolds was 32 years old, an Air Force veteran who had flown combat missions over Iraq. Nothing in military aviation training prepared him for a non-human presence in the flight deck. A high-pitched tone sounded in Reynolds' headset, a tone Jack could hear vibrating through the air. The entity turned its head slowly toward Reynolds, stepping 2 inches closer to the right chair. It raised its left hand, hovering slender fingers directly over Reynolds' exposed forehead. Reynolds' eyes rolled back slightly, his trembling breathing instant changing to a deep sleep state. The entity had sedated him instantly, leaving Captain Jack as the sole, conscious human witness. Jack knew that in 30 seconds, their radar silence would trigger military interception protocols. At 2,000 miles per hour, radar systems do not simply stop seeing an aircraft. Edmonton Military Control logged 47 seconds of empty space on Flight Sector 09. 47 seconds means 40 miles of heavy commercial metal vanishing from civilian air corridors. The transponder code 0422 did not drop signal strength. It flatlined to absolute zero instantly. Inside the cockpit, neither pilot knew their flight signature had ceased to exist for Canadian defense systems. They only saw the Intruder standing 40 inches from the primary flight display. Ground telemetry continued recording pressure differentials across both wing routes during the gap. That meant the wings were displacing air, but electromagnetic waves passed through the hull unimpeded. Military interception protocols automatically dispatched 2 F-15 interceptors from Elmendorf base. 2 scramble alerts went off, while the cockpit crew remained completely paralyzed in their seats. Subscribe to the channel if you want to trace the records the military tried to bury. The figure measured less than 4 feet tall, yet its head proportions overwhelmed its torso frame. Jack noticed its skin reflected zero cockpit light. It was not skin or fabric, but a chalky, damp barrier absorbing every photon around it. 2 oversized almond ocular lenses dominated 80% of its facial structure. No eyelids, no irises, no visible pupil dilatation. Instead of nostrils, 2 narrow diagonal slits cut into the cartilage above a thin jawline. Its hands were extended toward the flight management system, bearing 4 elongated digits. No fingernails or joint ridges were visible along the phalanges. A faint odor of ozone and damp copper filled the pressurized air. The creature turned its head slowly toward the primary flight deck captain. Jack felt an intense crushing pressure right behind his orbital bone. Hit that like button right now if you know the cockpit air reports never matched the official weather logs. The presence was not observing the plane. It was accessing the flight control bus directly. At minute 47, the air temperature spiked 4 degrees in 1 second. The figure did not walk or fade out. It simply ceased occupying physical spatial coordinates. All 32 warning lights on the main caution panel extinguished simultaneously. The hydraulic pumps hummed back to life with a sharp mechanical thud. Jack felt muscle control return to his fingers instantly as the paralysis lifted. The artificial horizon gyro spun back into alignment, showing 0 bank angle. The VHF radio burst into high-volume static, followed by Edmonton Center screaming their call sign. Flight 809, confirm altitude. We lost your primary target for 47 seconds. The first officer reached for his oxygen mask, his hands shaking uncontrollable. Jack keyed the mic button and lied to ground control to preserve protocol. Edmonton, Flight 809 experienced electrical glitch, declaring precautionary emergency landing. Instead of routing to Anchorage Commercial Terminal, air traffic diverted them to Elmendorf base. Touchdown occurred at 02:14 local military time. As the Boeing rolled off the active runway, black unmarked vehicles escorted it to Hangar 4. No jet bridge attached. Mobile passenger stairs were positioned by armed security personnel. Passengers were informed of an agricultural health check and held inside the cabin. Jack and his first officer were escorted down the ventral crew ladder under armed escort. Military technicians immediately attached external data download cables to the avionics bay. No civilian mechanics were permitted within 300 yards of the aircraft perimeter. If you have ever witnessed classified personnel taking control of a civilian gate, comment clear sky below. Both flight bags were seized before either officer stepped onto the concrete hangar floor. Their flight suits were checked with handheld radiation counters before entering Room B. Room B was windowless, equipped with 3 recording reels and 2 Air Force intelligence officers. The senior debriefer did not ask what Jack saw. He asked what sequence the buttons flashed. For 4 hours, intelligence officers replayed the cockpit voice recording line by line. The tape recorded no speech from the entity, only an ultra-low frequency 60 Hz hum. That frequency matched the resonant tone of high-voltage power transmission grids. The flight data recorder revealed that primary flight controls moved without pilot mechanical input. The control column executed 3 micro-adjustments corresponding to celestial navigation fixes. Jack was presented with a non-disclosure agreement citing National Security Act Section 4. Sign it, or lose your transport category pilot license before sunrise. His first officer broke down and signed without reading the enforcement riders. Jack signed, but retained his personal kneeboard navigation notes in his side pocket. Those handwritten notes contained the exact coordinate shifts forced onto the computer. Subscribe to the channel right now to make sure these suppressed pilot records stay public. 48 hours after landing, both pilots underwent mandatory medical evaluation at Brooks Air Base. Laboratory blood work revealed a 40% drop in white blood cell counts. Such rapid lymphocyte depletion only occurs following exposure to high-dose gamma radiation. Yet neither pilot showed external skin erythema or thermal burn tissue damage. Their flight suits were retained by the Air Force Materials Laboratory for mass spectrometry analysis. Spectrometry detected trace deposits of bismuth-209 embedded in the shoulder fabric. Bismuth-209 is a heavy element used in experimental electromagnetic shielding alloys. The flight suits had never been exposed to industrial manufacturing facilities. Both men developed persistent high-pitched tinnitus, tuned to 12 kHz. The Air Force Medical Board classified the injuries as high-altitude cosmic ray exposure. Jack knew cosmic rays do not leave heavy metal isotopes inside a pressurized flight deck. Official explanations often wrap simple facts in layers of confusing noise, making standard solutions feel completely out of reach. The exact same thing happens in the digital market, where people assume you need complex coding skills just to earn extra money. Inside the digital book, Renda Extra Com IA, AM 2026, you will find 9 simple services that you can deliver starting this week. Each chapter walks you through the exact steps, showing precisely how to package your work and secure paying clients immediately. You gain complete financial flexibility and peace of mind, knowing you have a reliable system working for you every single day. Take control of your income right now by pointing your camera at the QR code on the screen to grab your copy of the digital book. 48 hours after landing, the FAA issued its final classified memorandum. The document blamed a rare atmospheric plasma breakdown for instrument failure. They claimed radar reflection errors caused ground stations to lose tracking. Severe cabin cooling was listed as a malfunctioning air bleed valve. Yet 2 crew members described the exact same non-human intruder. Investigators dismissed their physical paralysis as hypoxia-induced hallucination. Flight maintenance logs from that night were stripped of sensor telemetries. 3 separate air traffic controllers signed strict non-disclosure statements. Subscribing to the channel helps us uncover more silenced pilot reports. Jack was ordered to report for mandatory early medical retirement. The case was officially closed, buried under 900 pages of noise. If you know the official story leaves out key facts, drop a like right now. Because one piece of evidence escaped the Air Force confiscation. An auxiliary cockpit recorder had been installed for routine noise monitoring. It continued recording during the entire 3 minutes of radar blackout. When audio engineers analyzed the tape, they found no engine noise. Instead, a structured metallic frequency pulsed at exactly 14 Hz. Underneath the static, 2 distinct layered voices were synthesized directly onto tape. They spoke numeric coordinates corresponding to star positions thousands of light years away. If you believe pilots are hiding the truth, comment "truth" below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss another declassified case. Jack kept a digital copy of that audio file before handing over the tape. Here on my channel, we have another video covering a radar intercept case. If you made it all the way to the end, comment "disclosure" below. Did atmospheric plasma cause this event? Or did something enter that cockpit at 35,000 feet?